We are going to be replacing my front shock absorbers with, this is my third set of maXpeedingrods. First set lasted a couple years and got seized up due to road salt and rust. The second set I insulated from road salt and they didn't rust and freeze up, but I bottomed them out and broke the shock, so now it's just the spring and it bounces. Down. Alright. Basically, I'm only going to be using the damper out of that shock. Almost all the way off. That's the size. Alright. Alright, so we have our new coilover and our old coilover. Move the shock, the strut itself, from the new one to the old one and keep all the other old parts because they've been customized to fit my car. Like, I built a mount on the top and I'm using a rear spring because it has a lower spring rate than the front spring, and I had these holes never come big enough, so I have to grind those out and it takes a while because I don't have the best grinder. So I'm going to keep the spring, the mount on top, the mount on the bottom. I'm just going to switch the actual shock. I should really clean this stuff up, but I did that last time. It took forever. Covered in schmoo. So I made this steel plate. You can't tell, but I had two bars side by side that I welded together to make it wide enough, and then I cut the corners off so it'll fit up in the fender well, and this adapts it so that it'll go from here to my fender well, and that allows me to use the rear springs that have the wider coil than the front springs, because if you try to use this mount with the wider spring, it doesn't really fit. So this fills up that gap, and the rear springs are much more comfortable. And this stuff is great because it has anti-rust properties. There we go. Because this has to slide when the steering wheel turns, this has to slide. So if it's not smooth and nice, it can jam up your steering smoothness. So it's good to get it nice and good. Man, this thing just got thrashed. What I did is I ran it all the way lowered with no pre-spring, whatever. So the shock was taking the brunt of the bumps and not the spring. So now I know why it's important to have some spring tension. Preload, that's what it's called. And this plate here. So I can press this all the way down. It comes back all the way up. But if your car is just riding on this and not riding on the springs, it blows these out. Make sure you can see it in the camera. Yeah, and I try to push this down. Oh, it does actually go down. Well, be. Well, maybe these aren't blown. Huh. I have no idea what I'm doing now. Well, the new ones are definitely stiffer, at least. I mean... Oh, see, this one's dripping. Yeah, see, it's dripping fluid. I think it's blown. And this part goes up here. Okay, up and down this one. This one. There we go. Oh, so much thread. Get this one off. Getting closer. Okay. And I had to weld some blobs so that the spring wouldn't come off, and they actually hold it up pretty nicely. So you can see the line right there where I welded two plates together. Got these pieces. This goes there. This goes like that. And this goes like that. Perfect. Oh yeah, we got this thing. It keeps the bearing grease in the bearing. Ow! There we go. Okay. All right. So I've been driving this car for like 3 or 4 years, and the brake pads started to make noise, so I checked them, and one pad was worn out on one side of the caliper, but not the other, on both front wheels. So I just replaced one pad out of 2 in both front wheels, and now it's fine. All right, so we'll just put our final bolt on. Now we can lower it down and do the final tightening at the top, because you can't tighten this bolt up here all the way without weight on the wheel sometimes, or at least it makes it a lot easier. It's a good tip for removing it too, because I struggled with that before I figured that out. When the weight's on the wheel, that's the time to screw in or unscrew this nut on top from and to full tightness. So now I should be able to tighten it. I couldn't before all the way, yes. Alright, there's the top view. Got this tight.